Guys, this is Tony with Culinary Seasons, and today I'm out in Rogue River with Trinity Scott with Mystic Valley Farms, flowers and herbs. Trinity, if you could just tell us a little bit about your operation.
Yeah, absolutely. So our farm is just outside of Rogue River, a few miles on East Evans Creek Road, and we have about 2 acres, which are about a half acre is planted with herbs and flowers. All of our herbs go into our herbal tea remedies, and our flowers go into fresh cut flower bouquets that we sell at the markets.
I came in contact with her at the Rogue Valley Growers and Crafters Market, and just want to find out about her tea process and what made her want to come to Southern Oregon and make some tea. So Trinity, tell me what brought you to Southern Oregon and what made you choose the Evans Valley here.
Well, first, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you and to share my story. It's really exciting. I really have loved that we've ended up here. We were living in Napa Valley for about the past 9 years and wanted to move to Southern Oregon. I have family up here and have visited up here for the years for holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, things like that. And we always love the area and visiting. So we finally thought, well, let's just make the move. We started kind of shopping around for real estate, and honestly, we looked all up and down the valley. We looked all the way up from Merlin all the way down past Ashland up into the hills there, over to Williams and Applegate and all around. And finally, we drove out to the place out in Rogue River, and we were on our drive out there. It's about 20 minutes. And so we were like, well, it's kind of far from town, but we really didn't mind. And as soon as we pulled up onto the property, it just opened up into this valley, and it's all pasture, and it's right up along the creek, and I just knew right then that this was the place. This is where we were supposed to be. So that's where we ended up, and so we're just making a go of it.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a lot of passion for what you do, making teas, but also your farm. Being down in Napa, what industry were you in?
So I worked in the wine industry, surprise. And I started there in hospitality and sales, and then branched out into marketing.
And you and I have talked at the growers markets about the similarities of building a tea versus building a wine. Can you elaborate on that?
I think that there's a lot of similarities there. For me, wine has a lot of depth and layers to it. You've got, the aromas and the smell, and also, the taste and the characteristics on the palate. And I think both of those are symbiotic with tea as well. Another similarity to me is that they're both products of the earth. So you grow your grapes, and the way that you grow them and where you grow them, and what you put into them as far as like organic farming really makes a difference in the product that you end up with. And to me, it's exactly the same with tea. So all of my teas are herbal teas and herbal blends, and it is crucial that the ingredients are organic and fresh, and come from a source that is quality, in order to be able to have that expression and those characteristics and the quality come through in the finished product. And so those are both very similar. And I also like speaking about tea in the same way that I would speak about wine. So I spent a lot of years in the tasting room, hosting tastings, talking about flavor profiles, food pairings, things like that, and agriculture too. And I feel like I can just map that right on top of tea and talk about tea the same way.
I've tried a couple of your teas, and I gotta say I'm impressed because the flavor comes through. But an example of the one that's got the peppermint in it, that one, it smells very peppermint, but when you steep it, the flavors are very mellow, very smooth, and it was just a nice tea to drink.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, finding balance within the flavor profile of the tea is one of the things that I strive for. There's 2 things. One is targeting a health ailment, and the second is making a blend that's well balanced and enjoyable.
And I think you're doing that. What inspires you to come up with a new tea blend? I'm pretty sure there's one that's not on your website yet, the one you sampled last week.
That's right. Yeah, so I've been making teas for a really long time, and I made 4 or 5 blends a few years ago, and for gifts for the holidays, just out of passion and hobby. And so this last year when I started going to the farmers markets, I thought, well, I'll just start with those blends. I already have them. I've already made them. I know they're wonderful. That's what I'll do. And so those were all inspired by, like I said, targeting a health ailment and making something really tasty. And I started with ailments that I find that I have myself. So one is the Stay Well blend, so just an overall immune boost. We've got Deep Sleep that helps you go to sleep and stay asleep. We have a Yummy Tummy. That one was actually fairly new. I was having digestive issues, and so I was like, there's got to be some herbs that can help with that. So really, all of them kind of come from like my own experience. Not all of them, most of them. And then I also pick up on what other people need. So that's one thing that's been really great about the farmers markets is that I've been able to get feedback from customers, and customers will come up and say, oh, like I have a really hard time with cholesterol and high blood pressure. Is there any herbs for that, or do you have a tea for that? And so I jot it down, and then I go home, and when in my free time I come up with a new blend, and it takes a little time. I have to research the herbs and find the ones that will go well together, and then play with the blend itself. So, I do a little tasting and testing and add a little more of this, a little less of that, and kind of finalize and come up with a product, which actually is really similar to wine blending as well, come to think of it. So when a winemaker is making a blend or final product for their wine to bottle, before they bottle, they'll do about anywhere from 8 to 10 different blends for one bottling, and narrow it down to the one that they feel is the best representation for what they're trying to target, whether it's big and bold or well-rounded. So that's very similar as well. My teas really target an ailment, so they are meant to be healing. My background with teas is really herbalism, and so along with the teas, I'm also have in development other products, tinctures, salves, and other things that can help with the ailments that I kind of already have targeted. So one thing I could point out is that on my website for each of the teas in the ingredients section, I have detailed information about what each herb has benefits for. So there's a lot of info there if you're interested in that.
And I came across this on your website, or I think it was on Instagram, not your website. The Honey House? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the Honey House is great. So there's a little farm stand just up the street from Rogue River on East Evans Creek Road. It's about a mile past the high school. And it's all like self-serve. So it's all honor system. So he's able to take credit cards, debit cards, or cash there. And the gentleman, Matthew, who runs the farm stand, calls it the Honey House because he has honeybees and he harvests honey. And so he sells his honey there, but then he also opens it up to the community, to other local product makers. And so it's really great because you get a little bit from everybody. There's fresh baked goods, there's a local coffee roaster, there's jams, pickles.
It's a big mix of things.
Yeah, that's really kind of fun, and you can find cool things that aren't in the markets that are from your local community being made. And he also has a little food stand outside that's just donation based. So you can drop off canned goods and pick up if you need some food.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I didn't know that much about it. That's
Yeah.
a great little program to have.
It is. It's really great for the community.
Yeah, definitely. This year, for your farm, what do you have planned? What do you have plans for growing?
My goal this year is to actually do about 50% herbs and 50% flowers. Last year it was mostly flowers, and I found that my teas were much more successful than cut flowers, which was a surprise to me, but a good surprise. And so I decided to kind of pivot a little bit and focus more on planting herbs. So that's the goal for this year, is to do about 50% herbs and mostly ingredients for my current products.
Sounds good. What kind of flowers do you grow, or did you grow last year?
Yeah.
Plan on this year?
Yeah, cut flowers. So I'm going to stick with the ones that grew really well, and then add in a few more that I liked using. So the dahlias did really well, sunflowers, calendula, zinnias, some amaranth, snapdragons. This year I'm going to add in some celosia, some gomphrena, strawflower. So a lot of the flowers that I'm trying to grow this year, I also am growing ones that dry well, because I started making like dried flower wreaths last year, and that went really well, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of trying to, everything in the farm I try to plant that has multi-purpose. So I love flowers that can also double as herbs, like lavender, echinacea, yarrow, and then also that can be dried and used later if they aren't sold at market or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen your wreaths on your website. They're amazing.
Oh,
they
cool.
look
Thank
very
you.
pretty.
Oh, thank you.
So Trinity, tell us about where you sell through. I know through some farmers markets. Can you tell us where and your website as well?
I am at the Rogue Valley Growers and Crafters Market on Thursday in Medford from 8:30 to 1:30. Fridays I'm in Murphy at the Murphy Outdoor Market, and Saturday I'm in Grants Pass across the street from the Growers Market on the Crafters side, and that's current. Sunday I'll be in Weimar, so Weimar does a market on Sundays starting June 1st. That's for markets, and then I have my teas at the Honey House, which I keep stocked. And there's another farm stand actually in Humboldt County, in Eureka, California, that just started stocking the teas. And then my goal is to actually get into more retail stores this year.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to be able to show up at some of the smaller health food stores in Grants Pass and Ashland.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
And the website,
And your website, which is?
themysticvalleyfarm.com. And we ship across the United States. So you can order anything, you ship it anywhere. And if you're local, you can opt to farm pickup, and you're welcome to come out to the farm, or I'm happy to meet you in town or wherever.
Cool. So Trinity and I have been talking about culinary uses for her teas and how I could maybe incorporate some into some recipes, or we've talked about doing pairings.
I think there's a lot of different uses for the teas. It says tea, but really they're just herbal blends, so you can kind of use them in a lot of different ways. Make a cocktail out of it, pair it with the food, add it to a recipe. Yeah, I think that we could come up with some really cool stuff.
I think so.
Trinity rents a commercial kitchen in Rogue River where she blends her teas and packages them for sale.
The energy that you put into it, your intention, goes a long way. And so just being able to take a moment to be like, okay, I'm making, natural medicine right now, so let's be present. Okay, so nourish the body and bring peace to the digestive system.
Trinity explains the process she uses to log the blending of each tea recipe, starting with the daily intention specific for that tea blend. Logging the process as she builds each tea recipe, she logs the batch number, lists the ingredients, and any tasting notes specific to that tea blend to ensure the blend is correct. Documenting the steps allows her to reference what steps she took while she developed the recipe happy
I
heart.
also took some tasting notes, as I was tasting through it and kind of adjusting the amounts for the recipe, things that I caught while I was tasting or smelling it, and coming up with kind of that final blend.
Is that something you've noticed as you blended, that the producers of your ingredients, it varies as you're putting them together?
Yeah. When I first started ordering herbs, my first batch, I just went to the herb store downtown Grants Pass, and I was like, well, I'm just going to make some quick little, mixes. And so after I sold a bunch of tea and I needed to order like pounds of ingredients, I had to start sourcing from wholesaler. I bought from a bunch of different places, just to test and taste, because you can find herbs pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Bulk, but they're brown and flavorless, stale, but quality, like, it has to be there. I found 3 producers that I prefer to source from. Star West Botanicals is in Sacramento, and their stuff is pretty consistent and is very fresh. Mountain Rose Herbs in Eugene, and their stuff is really nice and really fresh as well. And then Oshala Herb Farm, which is in Applegate.
Yeah.
They have their stuff is very fresh because they sell out. So everything that they grow and dry, it's like gone as soon as they harvest it.
Okay.
And I really like getting stuff from them, but they don't have everything that I need. So I kind of have to go between those 3.
Okay. Are most of your ingredients dried flowers? I know you use root as well.
Both. General guidelines for tea, flower and leaf are best because roots take a little bit more of a longer steeping to extract really all of their properties. Peppermint was one of the herbs that I reduced the amount of in some of the recipes because this batch came through a little bit stronger. It has both marshmallow and licorice have what they call mucilaginous properties. And so if you just put them in water on its own, it'll get like a gel. It's really fibrous, but it's really great for sore throats. It's really great for digestion. And actually the marshmallow came from the marshmallow root. Native Americans used to boil down in honey, and it would be this sticky kind of goo that they would form into a ball, and that became the marshmallow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Once the herbal ingredients are assembled and blended together, she scales the portion sizes she needs for orders and for sale at the markets. I hope you've enjoyed exploring the source with Mystic Valley Farm. Trinity has a passion for not only what she grows on her farm, but for the health benefits that her tea blends target. Find Mystic Valley Farms at a farmer's market near you. Follow on Facebook, Instagram, and at themysticvalleyfarm.com.